If you want to be an expert, you have to be the king of content for your niche. Now, here's a piece of advice I do have for you, and it could be the single biggest differentiator between you being ultimately successful or ultimately failing as an expert in your niche. And here it is. Create one new piece of content in your niche every single day. Now, your first year or so, I would actually recommend you do it 7 days a week. That's what I did. I have tapered back. I only do it 5 days a week. Now, I'm not saying you have to write an entire book or an entire 2,000 article or 2,000 word article every single day, but write something or create something. Now, for many, many years, I gave myself the homework. No client was asking me to do this. I gave myself the assignment of, I'm going to write one nugget, one article. It could be one paragraph with a tip on public speaking or speaking to the media every day. And I did that for years and years, and that became the basis for my first few books. Nowadays, I'm not writing as much, but I'm creating content every day because I create new videos on YouTube every single day. And if you doubt me, go to my YouTube channel. I have 10,000 videos up. Is every single blog post going to generate tens of thousands of views? Does every video create tens of thousands of views? No. Some might only have 5 views. Although I do have more views than every top 10 PR firm in the world. I have more than 3 million views, but it's not that every single video is so powerful. It's the discipline, knowing you're going to create content in your niche. That builds expertise. There's virtually no way you can write about a subject or talk about it in video format every day for a year or two without becoming an expert. I mean, it's just really, really hard to do. The sheer act of knowing you're creating content forces you to be constantly looking out for new ideas, new topics, new hooks. Once you create the content, especially in written form, you can repackage it into all sorts of other formats. You can take that blog post and turn it into an article. That article can be turned into an ebook. That ebook can be turned into a traditional book if you want. That book can be turned into a script for a video series. So you may be more comfortable speaking, and you may have a particular subject matter that lends itself. And the reason I switched to doing daily videos is because I'm about speaking and speaking to the media. So I reasoned that it was just more relevant to my fans, my customers, my clients, my prospects to see me speaking. But I didn't do that until I'd already written more than 6 books. So I do recommend you get into the discipline of writing every single day. And only after you've done a few books, then perhaps putting aside the writing and creating videos or something. Could be audio. If you are more comfortable doing audio podcasting, but do it every day. It sharpens the mind. It forces you to be on the lookout. Make this available to people on Facebook and Twitter, and they'll start sending you things that are relevant to you. Now, not too long ago, I got an email and a Facebook message and communication from half a dozen sources, from people all sending me the same thing. They sent me video of the President of Colombia wetting himself during his speech. It got a lot of attention, embarrassing. But they knew that as a speaking expert, I'm constantly analyzing what happens to public figures when they're giving presentations. So the marketplace thought of me as the person to analyze that. I didn't even have, it turns out I did see the story even earlier because I'm constantly looking for things like that. But even if I'd missed it, it was sent to me. That's the beauty of really pounding away at your niche on a daily basis, because the days are simply gone when you can write a book every 2 years on a subject and be seen as the expert. You've got to be a content machine. Now, I'm not saying you've got to do 50 tweets a day. Don't create bad content. Don't create content just to create content. But you also don't want to sit, refine, edit, re-edit, reflect upon, and wait 6 months in between pieces of content. The world has simply changed. It's a different place now. The marketplace is going to forget you if you are that sporadic in content. So I would recommend you find some medium that you're really comfortable with. It might be your own blog. It might be an email newsletter. If it's great content and you're putting it out regularly, A, you should be able to find an audience. B, you can then use that content to reach people in a lot of different places through social media and through some traditional distribution channels as well. Part of what you're doing when you're creating content is coming up with unique, brilliant, insightful ideas. That's a part of it, but no one has brilliant, completely original ideas every day. Another value of the expert is simply organizing knowledge and sifting through. What is it most people need to know versus what is it that those people don't have to know? I mean, there's new information every single day coming out about some newer version of something like a PowerPoint software. I may follow most of that, but I don't take the time of most of my corporate clients to walk them through all the ins and outs because I've determined that that's not really essential. That's not really going to help them in what they do with most of their presentations. So much of your value as an expert is sifting through all the information out there. If you are a nutritionist and you're trying to get on Good Morning America and you want to be a famous nutritionist and be a best-selling book and keynote at health expos all over, part of what you've got to do is look at every single new health study out about this diet and that diet and not tell all your followers about it. Instead, figure out what's truly most important. What's a real insight here that has to be shared? What do people absolutely have to know? So part of the role of an expert is simply organizing stuff, figuring out what people need to know, what they don't need to know. Another value is just explaining it in a way that people can understand. There may be a new study at some major prestigious university coming out that relates to your niche. Most people are not going to read a 50-page study and try to decipher what it really means, especially if it's filled with academic jargon. Your job as an expert is to read it, figure out what's important, and summarize it in language that's relevant to your audience. In most cases, the simpler the words, the more understandable it is, the less jargon, the better. That's one of the roles of a real expert. Another thing is anything that happens in the news that's relevant to your area of expertise, you need to be the first one commenting on it. Maybe your opinions are brilliant and different. Maybe it's simply common sense that other experts might say, but you are the first one to say it. So, for example, when a prominent senator was giving a rebuttal to the State of the Union and he was caught drinking and pushing a bottle way, way to the side and then sneaking it back, everyone in the world commented on it. People were sending that to me, but I made sure to have a crisp video commentary explaining what he did, why it was a problem, why it generated so much attention, and also how, if you ever need to drink water when you're speaking, how to do it in a way that doesn't cause all this fuss. And so my customers, my clients, my tribe, if you want to call it that, they were interested in my analysis, and my YouTube subscribers saw that right away, and that video got a lot of views. So that's another way you can be creating content. Some of your content should be evergreen. It should be good today, tomorrow, next month, next year. Maybe not 100 years from now, but it shouldn't expire. It shouldn't have a shelf life that's going to make it useless in a month or two. But you should also have content that relates to things that are in the news. And maybe that's the hook that gets you on the Today Show or that gets you on Oprah's network. because you're commenting on something that's new, because that's what reporters and news producers like the most. That's the content that can get you a lot of airtime. But you need to have both. You constantly have to think about creating content that can stand the test of time, that will be valuable to people on their bookshelf, if they still have a bookshelf, valuable to people in their electronic Kindle, where they keep it and they're not hitting delete. And you also want to grab people when there's something new that's in the news that everyone's talking about it, that's trending on Twitter. So, for example, not that long ago, the producer-director Michael Bay was out to give a speech in Las Vegas in front of thousands of people, and he froze. He basically ran off stage, and it was a horrific embarrassment. Again, I saw video clips. I did an instant analysis, but I also had people sending it to me because they know this is the sort of thing I care about. This is the sort of thing where I give tips. Now, what's important is you always have to add value. You can't simply be the reporter. I wasn't simply saying, here's Michael Bay freezing, making a fool of himself. I gave other people, everyone else, tips on how to avoid being in that situation. In that case, I said, okay, he got himself into trouble trying to read a teleprompter in front of tens of thousands of people, or 5,000 people, when he's not used to reading a teleprompter, and it was a very short, simple thing he had to say. He should just talk to people, and the way to get relaxed about that is to practice on video until you're comfortable with how you look and sound. I guarantee you he didn't do that. So, again, what I'm doing here is not simply reporting that Michael Bay made a fool of himself at a speech and froze. I'm then giving tips, giving insights on how other people can avoid that. The more often you can give people insights and give value, the better off. Now, a lot of experts and aspiring experts say, well, TJ, I don't want to give away my best ideas because then why would somebody hire me? People will steal my ideas. I don't want to do that. Here's the thing. What I have found, and it has nothing to do with any belief in karma or anything like that, I'm not knocking it, but what I have found is the hardest thing for most experts to ever break through is an awareness from the marketplace that you exist. That's the hard part. People have to know you exist. If every single doctor in the world knows you're the most respected heart surgeon and you've never lost a patient, okay, I guess you don't have to write a lot of blog posts on how to protect your heart. You're going to have so many patients flown to you lined up. But for most of us in the expertise business, something to do with business, we're not going to have that many clients lined up all the time. And that's why you've got to be creating content. It has to be good content. It has to be valuable content. And it has to be in different forms. A tweet can only be so many characters. A blog post can be longer. A book can obviously be even longer. You got to get to the point where you don't care what medium, what format. It's just you have ideas. You have expertise. You have a passion for sharing ideas. The more people who hear about your ideas, the more who are going to want to tell people other about you. Ultimately, the more people will hire you. And the more of those people, the more you can charge. I mean, that really is the way it works. The people who make the most money as experts in the world are also the people who give away the most. Seth Godin has given away entire books for free, and the very same book, when printed, became a New York Times bestseller. And people are like, oh, that's impossible. If someone got the book for free, they would never pay for it. It didn't work that way. So I would recommend, don't hold it back. Don't just tease people and say, here's part of the answer, but if you want the rest, you have to hire me. That just annoys people. Ultimately, any one bit of advice you give doesn't really solve most people's problems. I mean, for most of us in the expert business, it's not just a particular insight. It's how you put it together. What are your systems for applying your knowledge that really creates changed behavior? I'm not a negotiation expert, but I can read a book on negotiation, and I can give you a tip Never give your best offer first. I can give you a tip, but I'm not really a negotiation expert. So I can't become a negotiation expert by stealing someone's idea in a book. People who are true negotiation experts, they know not only that tip, but how it fits into an entire negotiation. They know a process. They have a system for applying all of their principles in a way that creates an outcome. And if you're an expert, that's what you're really selling. You're selling outcomes. You're selling change behavior. You're selling solutions. I always tell people, if they've called me and they're not certain they want to hire me, they've just called the first 10 firms they found on Google, I always tell people, hey, if you're looking to hire somebody for an 8-hour block of time, don't hire me. You can hire someone for $200. But if you're looking for someone who can create dramatic improvement in your speaking skills, short term, through in-person training, the best books, the best audios, the best online training, and then follow up by giving you personalized critiques through video, access to my online school, follow-up training videos on average 5 a week, 1 per day. Also, for you to be able to ask me any question in the next year on speaking, and I'll give you a personalized video answer so that you get better and better, so that 3 months after the training, you're better than you were at the end of training. 6 months, you're better than a 3. A year, you're better than a 6 months. If that's what you're after, I am the least expensive trainer you can hire, because I have a process that helps you get instantly a lot better and then systematically even better and better. That's my message when prospects who don't know anything about me call, and I have to say, it doesn't convince everyone. If someone has a set in mind, I'm not going to spend more than $900, I'm not going to persuade them. But if they really are focused on goals, then I'm very persuasive with them, because again, I'm not selling them any one nugget. I'm not selling them a PDF book. I'm selling them a new habit, a new change in behavior. So if you're an expert, whether you're an expert on customer service, quality control, sales, ultimately that's what people are paying the expertise for. They're paying for change behavior, because information these days has never been easier to access. I mean, there's so many books, Google books, where you can get books on almost anything for free. If you're a part of Amazon, Kindle has so many books for free. They also have this new service where you can have unlimited books practically for $9 a month. So information is devalued in our current society because distribution costs have gone to zero, production costs have gone to zero. But insight, that remains valued. That remains relatively rare. Someone who can actually change behavior, create a new habit in someone, that's rare. I can watch a video on how to hit a forehand on YouTube for free. But I actually have to hire a tennis pro who will watch me and say, well, TJ, you're turning your hips too soon and you're putting your head up. That's why the ball goes over your fence. I need that expertise because that person can change my behavior in a way that simple information can't. So that's why you have to be a content factory. Now, I occasionally have so-called experts contact me and say, oh, TJ, I've been working on this book. I'm so sick of it. I've finished it. Thank God. I'm never going to have to write on this subject again. Now I'm just ready to promote it and go on the talk show circuit, make a bunch of money. No, it doesn't work like that. If you're sick of a subject after writing about it, that's a sign you're in the wrong niche. It needs to be something you naturally write about. You can't wait to tell people, where even your friends are calling you and say, hey, did you see that today? What are your thoughts? You've got to pick a niche like that so that you create more and more content. It has to be a never-ending stream. Now, again, it could be as little as 4 sentences a day.